I'm a minute or two early. Just want to make sure all of my technology was up and running. So hopefully folks are getting the message that we're here and that we're live. And I am actually going to use my other personal device because in the past, sometimes I can't see comments coming in. I just want to be prepared. So I see one person is already here live with me. Hello, good evening. A couple people are here. If you're able to, give me a little hello in the comments, because that lets me know that I can get your comments. Because sometimes they don't show up, which is super weird. Otherwise, I'll have to use it on my personal device, which is why it looks like I'm sitting here looking at my phone. So, let's see here. We shall see. Hello from the present moment. Meredith is here. Hello. Okay, so I am getting your comments on my computer, so that I don't have to be looking at this, which is wonderful. Got a few people here. Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm getting comments coming in, which is amazing. Yay for technology working tonight. But I can only see how many people are watching, so I don't know who you are. So if you're open to it, let me know who you are. Give me a little hello in the comments, and maybe even let me know where you're joining from, what you've been up to this weekend. Give it a minute for folks to show up. I was snowshoeing earlier today. I made a little post about that too. Got my snowshoes last year, and then they still had the tags on them when I used them today. But it was still fun. So I loved being outdoors. If you guys are here in Minnesota, it's snowing. It's snowing. More snow. But you know, it's Midwest, right? It's Midwest. Jamie. Hi, Jamie. Great to see you too. You got the link. You found us. I'm glad to hear that. Okay. Well, it's 1 minute after. I like to be punctual. So I think what we'll do in our little kickoff for 7 days of meditating together and the little mini lesson that we'll be doing together tonight, let's maybe just get here and get grounded and arrive so we can be present with each other. And if it's possible, I know it's Facebook Live, so I don't know what you guys are up to right now and wherever you are in your homes or wherever you might be. But if it's possible, let's put everything aside just for the next, 15, 20 minutes together and really be able to take in whatever it is that we're here for this evening. I really believe that, we're all students and teachers all at the same time. And so what that really means also is that we're all, absorbing what we need to when it arrives. So we want to be open to that. We want to be open to what it is that we're supposed to be receiving. So let's get centered, let's get grounded, and then I'll go into some information for you guys. All right, so I am sitting on a little meditation. It's a cushion. It looks like a block, but it's a cushion. Or I have some Zafu cushions. There's those round ones. Oh, there's one right behind me. That's a Zafu cushion. But if you're wherever you are, maybe you want to just sit well in your chair. Sit well if you want to be supported using the back of your chair or a wall. I prefer to kind of sit on the front edge of my chair or my cushion, or if I'm just sitting on the floor. For me, it just helps me be more present, more aware. But it's up to you. It's your body, it's your practice. But wherever you are, let's sit well in a position where you can breathe well. And if you can, close your eyes or gaze down as if you're looking through the floor. Let's just use our breath for now. So noticing your breath just as it is. Becoming the watcher of your breathing body. Feeling the inhales and feeling the exhales just as they are. Perhaps hearing your inhale and hearing your exhale. Noticing the parts of your body that move or change as you breathe in and as you breathe out. Perhaps now intentionally elongating your inhales and your exhales. Just gently inviting your breath to receive more air and to release the air slower, gentler. And as you exhale, notice the parts of your body that are connected to the floor or the chair or the cushion. As you inhale, notice being supported. Exhale, grounding in. Inhale, you are supported. If you'd like, you can continue with this mantra. Exhale, I am grounded or I arrive. Inhale, I am supported. Continuing with this as you let go. Using your breath to ground you, support you, and to anchor you in the presence of this moment. Your next exhale, let go with a sigh. And tuck your chin to your chest. Flutter your eyes back to the room. Then gently lifting your gaze and your head to come back to the space that you're in. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining me for that little practice as we get going together. Thanks for coming in on a Sunday evening as well. You guys, I'm really excited. I know we just got centered, but you should have seen me before. I was like so excited. I'm really excited. I love any time that we get to practice together. So anytime that I've got these like 7-day challenges or group times together, or anytime that we're getting together for weekly practices or anything like that, I just am so excited about it. And I wasn't planning on sharing this with you. It's not in my notes. Most of you know that I need my notes or else I just go on story tangents. So what I do want to share with you though is that this is really, really important to me. This work of mindfulness and meditation and bringing mindfulness to all parts of our life, our relationships, our yoga mat if we do asana, to our work lives, everything. Like everything that we can bring mindfulness to, it will transform not only our life in that area of our life, but it transforms us. Right? Mindfulness helps us go inward and get still and get to know that truest part of ourself. Some of you have heard me refer to that as our authentic self, but maybe it's your soul or your spirit, your true soul self. Whatever word you use or phrase that you use to describe it, that's how we get in touch with it. And otherwise, we're in this lifestyle, and it's absolutely reinforced and reiterated over and over again in this Western culture, right? That we are busy all the time and we're kind of in autopilot. We're not encouraged to slow down and check in with ourselves, to listen to something like intuition or our natural knowing. So we're just kind of out of touch with that. And I think that means that we're missing out on a lot. And actually not even like missing out on a lot. I feel like we're missing out on what's real when we're not finding ways to tune inward. So I have lots of stories from my personal experiences and practices that I could share with you about what that means and what that can look like. But let me just, in a very concise way, say mindfulness has absolutely transformed and changed my life from the inside out. So today, I got my notes now. I'm going to follow my notes, you guys. So we're talking about mindfulness and meditation. And so with mindfulness, we're going to start with mindfulness and it's going to lead into meditation. So with mindfulness, so it's kind of become a pop culture thing, right? And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like anything that brings this work to people in whatever way that we are ready to receive it, I'm a big fan of. So zero judgment from me when I share any of this. But it's all teachings, right? And like I was saying, we're all students and teachers all at the same time. And so I'm always learning and growing as well. So mindfulness, though, kind of pop culture. So the reason why I say that is because I think some of us have different understandings of what mindfulness means or what it is. And so I want to share with you what it means to me and how I describe mindfulness, because that's what One Moment Center is all about, right? Mindfulness experiences for transformation. So mindfulness, when we're talking about it from Jon Kabat-Zinn's standpoint, so Jon Kabat-Zinn, he created mindfulness-based stress reduction, and he wrote Full Catastrophe Living. It's a giant book, but it's awesome. And he talks about mindfulness being this intentional, on purpose, paying attention to our present moment, non-judgmentally. Now, I don't have his definition memorized, but that's essentially it. It's paying attention on purpose to our present moment, just as it is, non-judgmentally. So that's a lot, right? That's a lot of stuff there. But what I take from that is choosing to be aware. That's it, like choosing to be aware. But then he takes it a step further when he's saying non-judgmentally. What he's essentially pointing out there is how important it is for us to connect with this watcher, right? This watcher. And I don't know that Jon Kabat-Zinn talks about this or not, but we all have this ability to watch ourselves, watch our thoughts, watch our reactions, watch our emotions, watch our intuition, right? We all have this ability to watch, to witness, to be the observer of what's going on inside of us and outside of us. And when we're just watching, when we're connecting with the watcher, that watcher has no judgments. It simply watches. Right? Those of you who have joined in, hello, welcome. Kathleen Michelle here. We're talking about mindfulness and meditation. So being in the present moment, so on purpose, paying attention to our current moment experience non-judgmentally. So we're connecting with that watcher, that observer that doesn't have an opinion. It's not analyzing, it's not fixing, it's not clinging, it's not striving. It's simply observing. And that's mindfulness. So I sometimes hear from people that it sounds like mindfulness means that we're just passive, right? Maybe you've heard the, well, it just is what it is, right? And it can sound very passive or almost like defeatist. And that's not it at all. Mindfulness actually helps us to become aware of our truth, of our true values, our intuition, and we feel guided by that. And then we make value-driven decisions and actions. So I have found that the more that I'm engaged with mindfulness, getting still, going inward, connecting with the watcher, the more I make very active, value-driven decisions. I am not passive in my life at all. Well, sometimes I am, but I catch myself on it faster and faster. Because that is definitely something that I struggled with in my life, is just letting other people make decisions for me because making decisions was anxiety provoking. right? By the way, those of you who have not met me before, I grew up as a very anxious person. And so mindfulness has been a game changer for me in shifting and changing how I do my life. So, like I was saying, tons of stories that I could share with you, but it's been very, very important for me. So that's mindfulness in terms of like, so Jon Kabat-Zinn, he brought mindfulness pretty much to the Western world, this idea of mindfulness. And he really, really marketed it super well, I would say. And so a lot of us now have this idea of mindfulness about being in the present moment, but it is not passive. It doesn't encourage passivity. It doesn't encourage non-doing. It actually encourages us to be more aware and more active in our own lives. And for me, that's meant showing up in ways that I can be more of service, not just to myself, but to others. So that's mindfulness. So what I also want to share with you is there are 3 terms, and they come from yoga. So yoga, a lot of us think of yoga, and we think of like the postures, like the body postures and the movements, and that is absolutely a part of yoga. But that is asana. And asana, it is just that. It's the body postures of practicing yoga. So yoga, Patanjali wrote about these 8 limbs of yoga. And I'm not going to go into all of it. And some of you, this is review, and some of this is brand new. And so for all those reasons, I'm going to keep it brief. But he talks about these 8 limbs of yoga. And it's called Ashtanga yoga, Ashtanga. So 8 limbs, 8 parts, 8 ways of yoga. And I won't get into all of them, like I said, but the 3 that I'm going to talk about, asana is one of them, but the other 3 that I'm going to talk about are pratyahara, dharana, and dhyana. You don't have to memorize those. I promise. There's no quiz. I just want you to know while I'm going through in what order. So the reason I'm going through those in that order is because part of the purpose of yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga, is to reach enlightenment, essentially. Is to help us to reduce our karma, the things that block us from our true self, and to bring us to this ultimate place of bliss where we are connected with unity with whatever our source is, God, nature, whatever it is for you. Okay? So, 3 of these practices that get us there are pratyahara, dharana, and dhyana. And I'm hoping I'm saying those right, but I might not be, you guys. I might not be saying those right. You can check me on that. I'm not perfect. Okay, so pratyahara. And this is going to make sense here in a little bit about why I'm bringing these up, because we're talking about mindfulness and meditation. Okay, so pratyahara is essentially withdrawal of the senses. Withdrawal of the senses. So what that means is that we're bringing our mind internal. So we're focusing our mind internally. And if we're bridging, it's the bridge between the external and the internal. Okay? So if we are playing around on our social media stuff, we're focused externally. We are not focused internally. So pratyahara is focusing internally, away from the external information and stimuli, so we can hear, feel, realize the sounds from within. Okay? So the withdrawal of senses, meaning we're withdrawing from the external distractions, really, so that we can focus inward. Okay? Sounds a whole lot like mindfulness, right? Is that we're being here now in the present moment, being able to pay attention to the watcher, the watcher of our thoughts, of our emotions, our sensations, all of that, right? So that's part of this. That's part of this picture. It's part of where mindfulness came from. This word mindfulness. Mindfulness, the word mindfulness hasn't been around for thousands and thousands of years, like these concepts like I'm sharing with you now have been. Okay, so dharana. So this is another limb of the Ashtanga Yoga, right, that Patanjali talked about. So dharana is essentially concentration. So we go from withdrawal of the senses, the external senses, pratyahara, and then when we have, I don't want to say mastered that, but when we practice that, we're able to go into concentration, dharana. In dharana, we have this total focus, right? We're able to like bring the mind, focus the mind to one specific point. And in doing this, we're able to calm the mind and quiet the mind. Yeah, good stuff. Quieting the mind. So we might bring our concentration or our focused awareness on something internal, like one of our body parts or a chakra, right? Some of you know about the chakras, the energy centers in our body. Or we might be bringing our awareness to something external, right? So we might be focusing on something that I like to do is single pointed meditation is it's dharana, it's concentration. I like to light a candle and just like soften my gaze and watch the candle, watch the flame of the candle. And sometimes that's for a couple minutes, and sometimes that's for, 15, 20 minutes. It depends on how long I'm practicing that day. And so, dharana, concentration, right? And so we're seeing how all this builds up, right? And how mindfulness has been a part of all this for like 5,000 plus years, okay? Right? So mindfulness, we talk about in a very modern way, but it comes from something really deep and really special. Okay, Dhyana. Oh, I hope I'm saying that right. My meditation and my mindfulness teachers might be giving me a hard time about this one later. But anyway, so meditation is what this is now, right? So essentially meditation. Dhyana is meditation. Okay? So we're training the mind in meditation. It's this state that we're going for. And this is where it gets difficult because it's not like we're striving for this. It's just something that will naturally occur. So I think sometimes we sit down in meditation, and maybe you guys can relate to this. We sit down to meditate, and it's like, I'm not feeling peaceful. I'm not feeling at bliss. I must be doing this wrong. I can't get my thoughts to stop. I'm bad at this. That's why practicing together is so important, because these myths come up. So when we get to this meditation part, what happens is natural. It's just like the natural, organic next thing is that we kind of go into, maybe I'll say it that way instead of achieving, we go into this state of inner balance, of equanimity and awareness, right? Awareness of truth, of our true self, awareness of the watcher. And then this takes us into, which I won't get into tonight, but this takes us into, after much practice, samadhi, which is essentially this like ultimate bliss, like I was talking about, but this ultimate bliss and connection with oneness and unity with God, spirit, universe, nature, whatever it is. So most of us will have moments of this in our life, and I've definitely had moments of this. Sometimes while I was practicing meditation and mindfulness, and sometimes when I least expected it, right? But we're seeing now how this modern concept of mindfulness has deep, deep roots. And we talk about mindfulness as like being here now in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And it sounds so easy, right? It's like, oh, well, I just like hang out, like get quiet, sit in, crisscross applesauce, and and I'll just like be at peace. Oh man, sometimes, but sometimes not. Mindfulness and mindful meditation is about being aware and being with whatever is present. So that means sometimes we have some self-critical thoughts. Sometimes we have grief. Sometimes we have really a lot of excitement for something. And the sensations of being excited, that like vibration of that. And so whatever is going on for us, we're bringing awareness to that. That's mindfulness. And then, like I was saying, that non-judgmental piece is like I'm observing this simply to watch it, simply to be a student of myself. And then it's through practicing this. It's like bringing this attitude to these other parts of yoga, essentially. But that withdrawal of the senses, concentration, and into meditation. This is where the magic happens. And I shouldn't call it magic, but to me, it's like magic, right? So all of these together help us to transform, because it's about releasing our illusions. And you guys, most of us are walking around with so many illusions, really fighting with reality, not wanting to fully accept universal truths. And that is our suffering. And so leaning into mindfulness and these other parts of that, the pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, it brings us to this level, this ability to go inward, find stillness, so that we can truly listen and lead our life from our true self, instead of these illusions and these myths. Brings me to my next and last point that I have for you guys this evening in this kickoff. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. These next 7 days of meditating with you guys is going to be so fun. But before that, the reason why we're meditating together, the reason why we're practicing together, is because it's a practice, right? It is a practice. We're training the mind, essentially. We were born into this human body that reacts and has this brain and this nervous system. And mindfulness, being here now in the present moment, non-judgmentally, observing, withdrawing the senses, concentration, meditation. This is all a practice in training the mind. Training our awareness. Our ability to be fully aware, instead of this autopilot awareness that I don't even want to call awareness, this autopilot way of doing our lives, where we're just reactionary instead of responding from our true values and our personal power, our inherent personal power that is always there. So these are some of the things that I found out for myself through my practices that I love sharing with you guys too. So it's a practice, and when we practice together, we are more likely to stick with it, because it's not always easy. And sometimes it's downright uncomfortable, right? To be like, oh my gosh, I'm hanging out in silence and my brain is just wanting to like bring up these things that aren't pleasant to think about or to feel my feelings about. And how do I hang out with that, right? When we can practice together, we go further. We just do. Whatever we can do with a buddy system or in a group, we're going to go further. And we're going to lift each other up so that we can all go further together. So that's part of why I love doing these meditations with everybody, right? Because we all go further, just like I do too. Just because you're hanging out with me, wanting to practice with me, okay? So I want to do one comparison here that I think is really helpful when we're talking about this like training of the mind, training our our awareness abilities, right? So I think of like an athlete or somebody who's training for something. You don't just go run a marathon if you haven't ever ran before. It's going to be painful, and you're never ever going to want to do that again. And you're probably going to injure yourself, is my guess. But anyway, if we approach mindfulness practices in that way, we're going to have the same kind of experience. We're going to feel lost. We're going to feel like we're not doing it right. We might never ever want to come back to it again. So we start small. We start small. Just like if you're training for a marathon or weightlifting competition, you start small and you build and you build and you build. And you know what? Your training is going to go so much better and smoother, and you're going to be able to avoid so many of the pitfalls. And if you find a pitfall, you're going to have people to help guide you through that and lift you even higher, right? So that's why doing it as a team or a group or having a coach or something like that is so important. So practicing together with mindfulness, it's the same thing. With meditation, mindfulness, it's the same thing. Doing this together, like I was saying, we're going to be able to lift each other higher. And no matter where you're starting from, if you're brand new and 1 minute of sitting with your breath seems to be like a lot, that's totally fine. Because you know what? In many, many ways, you're in the same place as somebody who's meditating for 60 minutes at a time. Really. And there's no better or worse. There is no competition for this. There is no winning at this. It's about doing your practice. That's it. It's doing your practice. Training your mind, training your awareness. We can't compete or compare with anybody on that. Your journey is your journey, period. And it's exactly as it needs to be. So, just like you wouldn't go out and run a marathon if you've never ever ran before, we need to take these steps together, right, of mindfulness and building it up and learning the ways to practice that will get us there instead of doing things that might possibly take us backwards, right? Been there, done that. I did a lot of experimenting on my own, and sometimes it was not pretty, my friends. It was not pretty. And it was only through leaning on others and going to group meditations and learning from the teachers, the best teachers out there, that I've gotten to where I am. So that's why I love, love, love being here for you. Okay, so we're going to build this up together. And we're going to practice together for 7 days. So 7:30 in the morning, Central Time. I'll be here live in the One Moment Center Facebook. So it's totally free, and you can come back to it whenever you want. You can do it 3 times in a day if you want, because you can hang out with me live and then watch it 2 times in a replay. I don't care. It's your practice. But I'm going to guide you through some simple mindfulness-based, so being in the present moment, non-judgmentally, mindfulness-based meditations. And we'll be together for about 10 to 15 minutes. So that'll include a little bit of instruction and then our practice, and then we'll wrap it up. And I'll say thanks for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow message, okay? So you don't have to do anything but show up. That's it, okay? So I'm going to stay on here for a minute or two. If anybody has any questions that you want to ask, please put them in the comments. I know there's a little bit of a lag, so hopefully they'll come through in time. But yes, that's what I wanted to share with you tonight in this kickoff and this little mini lesson on mindfulness and meditation, and where it all came from and why it is that we're doing this, why it is that we cultivate our relationship with the watcher, with the observer. Why would we do that? I mean, yeah, it reduces stress and things like that, and we're calmer, and I can totally attest to that. Oh my goodness. But really, it's about starting and continuing our path to our best self, to our true, authentic self, and being able to live our life from that place instead of this reactionary autopilot self that most of us are living through. So I'm not seeing any questions come in. So I'm going to say that I think that we're good to go. So thank you for joining me. And if you're watching in the future, give me a little hashtag replay or joining from the future. I love that one. I love that one. Meredith, who's live with me now, she's good at that. She's good at doing a hashtag from the future. And either way, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're watching this. If you have any questions in the future, even, you can post them in these comments and I will get back to you. And you can always reach out to me in other ways too. So if you have something that you want to ask, not in the group setting, you can message me, or you can go to, or just email info.onemomentcenter@gmail.com. As easy as that. All right. All right, friends. Have a great night. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And I'll be seeing you, hopefully, tomorrow morning at 7:30. Okay. Be well, everybody. Good night.